Today we got some massive updates on new signings across the board, plus a huge update on the status of a WWE superstar who potentially could be leaving. Don't forget, I'm giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. Go ahead and click subscribe today. Welcome back to the Angle Show. I want to kick things off with Drew McIntyre. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of confusion about Drew McIntyre and his WWE status. Right now, Drew McIntyre is being given a relatively big push, and they haven't fully committed to the heel turn just yet, but you have to wonder why WWE is going this direction with Drew McIntyre, especially the common belief at this time is that Drew McIntyre has yet to sign a new contract with the WWE. We know WWE added time to Drew McIntyre's contract due to missed time, and therefore, we've already discussed this on the channel, but as a refresher, if you guys didn't know, it was reported a while back that when they added time for Drew McIntyre, essentially it was until April of 2024. Now, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez were conversing about this, and Dave Meltzer doesn't believe that he's re-signed with the company. You know, look, honestly, this is a very, very tricky situation. And the reason why I'm really talking about this topic now more than ever is because we're going to see who's been very accurate in the reporting of Drew McIntyre, because there's been a lot of reports and a lot of talk from people suggesting that Drew McIntyre will be leaving WWE and potentially go to AEW. And then there's a lot of people, and I think mostly fans have kind of realized, like, why would they push him to this extent if they know he is going to leave? Because that's not very like WWE. And Drew McIntyre and Triple H mentioned it last year or several months ago at the press conference that everything you read on the internet is pretty much false and that they don't have issues. So is that WWE and Drew McIntyre trying to portray that there are no issues, even though there could be? Is that like a PR move? Or is this a scenario where legitimately Drew McIntyre could be on his way out from the WWE? I do find it fascinating because of Crown Jewel. You have Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. WWE has been doing a very good job with this slow burn with Drew McIntyre. This storyline is absolutely kicking ass. But if Drew McIntyre doesn't re-sign with the company, I fully don't expect Drew McIntyre to win the World Heavyweight Championship. If he doesn't win the World Heavyweight Championship, I could see that being the reason why he fully turns heel. At the same time, though, I think WWE has something really amazing with Drew McIntyre, and I want to see him stay in WWE. This guy carried the company during the pandemic. I want to see them bring him back to that point, but instead of being a top babyface, I would like to see him become a top heel. And obviously, you know, I said this in the other video the other day, but I was talking a little bit about how I think it would be really cool for Randy Orton to turn heel at Survivor Series and then become the next obstacle for Cody Rhodes. I would like to see the same thing be applied with Drew McIntyre. I would like to see a heel Drew McIntyre go after Cody, and I would like to see a Randy Orton that is heel also go after Cody. I think those could be really fun and good storylines. I want to turn our attention to a new signing for TNA. Guys, PCO is back. There's a reason why I'm talking about this. There was a lot of rumors that Tony Khan might be interested in bringing in PCO. Whether it was for ROH or for AEW, there was never really any clarification for that, but TNA dropped a very, very cool press release. They said the first official signing of the new era of TNA wrestling was announced this morning by company president Scott D'Amore. PCO won the four-way Monsters Ball match at Bound for Glory, and he signed a new contract. They actually dropped a picture with Scott D'Amore and PCO signing the contract, which was great. But basically, the terms of this contract were not disclosed. PCO says he really wants to be part of the new era of TNA wrestling, and Scott D'Amore made me an offer I could not refuse. And honestly, this is exciting for a variety of reasons. One, because PCO is a longtime veteran in the business. When he was in ROH, when Sinclair owned ROH, a lot of people thought PCO would be integrated into Tony Khan's version of ROH, and that didn't happen. And instead, he took a chance with Impact. And honestly, this is one of those things where I commend Impact. You know, PCO, longtime veteran, used to be in the WWF, used to be in ROH. And then you bring him to TNA, well, you bring him to Impact, and you do some stuff with the ROH guys and the Impact guys after, you know, the company shuts down. And then you start to make PCO a very big part of your show. And you want that type of veteran presence in your locker room. But most importantly, he's a fun character, man, and he's a good wrestler, and he does crazy shit, you know? And it's like, that's the type of thing that, like, with TNA, You bring in guys who may not be the biggest name, but you bring in great performers, and it makes for great content. And I like that. And I like the fact that PCO is staying because we get to see a little bit more of that, especially when we go into the new era of TNA. Like, that's going to be really exciting to see what they do with PCO. I'm not saying he's got to be the world champion. I'm not saying that, he's got to be on this level where he's like the guy. But what I'm saying is he's a perfect candidate to be in that locker room for the backstage aspect, but then also from a fan perspective, I think he brings a lot of entertainment value. And there's a reason why years ago WWE wanted to bring him in as a coach for NXT. There's a reason why PCO was rumored to go to AEW. The reason why these companies may have interest there is because of the fact that we're not talking about somebody who's like not utilized and he's not a no-namer. Like, he has a lot of value that he brings to the product. So I'm glad to see that TNA retained him. I actually did scratch my head when I saw that he won the Monsters Ball match, because the 4-way match was awesome. It was a very, very good match. And honestly, it may not have had any business being that good, but you see him win and everybody's like, well, hold on, he's kind of like on a handshake deal right now. And then it turns out he actually signed with the company, which is cool. Another signing that I want to talk about, guys, Scotty 2 Hotty has joined AEW. He is working for AEW as a coach/producer. Keep in mind, Scotty 2 Hotty was working in WWE NXT through 2021. He was then released from the company because he asked for his release, and the company granted him his release. And then basically from that point on, he was working the indie scene. Now he was actually on Wrestling with the Johners, and he confirmed the news himself. He says, I don't think it's a huge secret that I've been working for AEW as a producer behind the scenes, as a coach and producer there. I have an opportunity to do more with them on a regular basis, so it looks like at the beginning of the year, I'll be going pretty hard with them if everything works out the way I hope it does. It's exciting, it's bittersweet, because I enjoy doing these tours more than anything. And this is just another good decision, right? We talk about having guys with experience backstage. Scotty 2 Hotty was a guy with character. Yeah, good wrestler, but character was a big thing for him. And his character resonated with a lot of people. It generated reaction. People liked Scotty 2 Hotty. He came to WWE NXT. That's not what he wanted to do. He asked for his way out. WWE granted it to him, and then he started doing some indies again. And that's all fascinating. But, when I see AEW, I look at AEW for being smart at bringing talent that have experience to the backstage environment. That's the thing here, man. For a while, all we've heard about was drama backstage. All we have heard about were negative stories about the backstage environment. You bring veterans like this, and I hope, I'm optimistic, but I hope that it continues to be on this trend where you go away from the negative stuff and it's all positive. And when you have guys like Pat Buck working backstage and Sanjay Dutt working backstage, and look, you can hate or love Jeff Jarrett, whether or not you agree with him being there. It's a good thing to have these types of people backstage working for your company and showcasing, skills and stuff to the younger talent and letting them know, like, hey, like, you can make a career. You don't have to be the world champion, but you can make a great career in pro wrestling. This is how you do it safely. This is how you handle different spots in different moments. Like, there's a lot of things that could come from that, and I love that, and I think it's a good decision. So hopefully everything goes well, and good luck to Scotty 2 Hotty. Don't forget, I'm giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers, so go ahead and click subscribe today.